I will admit I'm in total denial over this whole thing. For those of you who haven't watched the possibly show finale for Primal, please don't watch this. It's still worth watching the end because it is a very sweet, beautiful ending. But as I said in my review, it ended too soon. It was too rushed, and it felt like Jendi didn't have a lot of time left, and the show was at risk of being canceled. And because he didn't want to leave his fans hanging, he was like, you know what? I can let this show not continue or give them some kind of closure. And I feel like that's what he did. So people are saying there's some sort of merger that happened with Warner Brothers, and that's the reason why Jendi had to hurry up and wrap up the show. I think it's the reason why Raised by Wolves also got canceled. And honestly, this is so sad. People are like, oh, well, they set up Spear's death anyway. They did in the beginning of the episode. Mind you, the episodes are 20 minutes. It's not like this was an hour-long finale. It was freaking 20 minutes. Mira had just come back to her land. Spear just got to her land. The babies have grown a little bit, and we haven't seen any adventure between that time. I was expecting, okay, maybe, you know, Fang, maybe one of the babies would die or something. Mira introduces Spear and her friends to her people. They have a celebration. We don't even get to really see Mira or Spear do anything, but I'm low-key expecting Spear to lead the thing or the threat away from everyone, or just leave altogether to go and find his family, or find a family, because he feels like he doesn't fit in with Mira's stuff, and after a while he's like, yeah, I just gotta leave. But he's also a family man, so I can understand how that wouldn't really make sense. It's also clear that he misses his children even more than he misses his wife, because I've noticed that when you see the flashbacks, when Spear's doing the flashbacks, you usually see his kids. We've never really seen his wife. He sees his kids. He's imagining teaching his son to hunt, which is, by the way, I think that's who we saw. I'm pretty sure it was Spear that was teaching his son to hunt, not the father teaching Spear, which explains why I was like, yeah, he looks like the spitting image of his father. And I'm thinking, man, why? He looks identical. It's because it was Spear. But they did use a different model, so the kid looked a little bit older than he looked when the dinosaurs ate him, so that part made no sense. But yeah, in so saying, it's clear that his children, his line, his bloodline, the people who come out of him and raising his kids, that was something very important to Spear. Anyway, we have him drawing his story, and there's this air that's hanging over everything. Like, Spear knows he's gonna die, or he has cancer or something. Like, that's what this feels like. But I guess he's like, well, since I'm here, might as well, which is very weird, but I guess he has nothing else to do, and he's like, there's a big wall here I can paint on, so let me just tell my story. And he probably was planning on leaving, as a matter of fact, because when he does his story, and Mira comes in the morning to look, he tells it from beginning to end. You can see him, he's watching over his people, but he's close by. His people are looking up to him. You can tell from the way he draws it, his people are looking up towards him. He's been chosen as the chieftain. In this story, it's him looking at his wife, looking at him, and their children are there too. He's there with Mira and Fang. You can see that in his drawing, he's with Fang, but then at the end, he specifically draws Mira, Fang, and her children together with Mira in her village, but he is not with Mira. Instead, he's all the way over here. The reason he's over there is because he no longer feels like he is part of his own family. Mira has her village, which is why Spear drew her next to her village. Fang has her babies, which is why Fang is facing away from Spear. Nobody's looking at him. Spear is by himself looking at them. Or he could be looking at us, but I think he's looking at them from the shadows, which made me feel as though he was thinking about leaving. And this was his goodbye, seeing them safe, making sure they're protected, and then when the babies were big enough, maybe he's like, all right, well, now that they're happy, let's just go, because there's nothing left for him to do. What is he gonna do? You know, he needs to find his own family, and he might like Mira. I think he does love Mira, but he would never say that to her. He would never say that to her. Like, my partner, if I hadn't said anything to him, like, it's very clear, like, through actions, that the person loves you, but if you'd ever go out and be like, hey, I like you too, or I like you, they would never say anything, because they're just too shy. That's the kind of person Spear is. He is heavily introverted, and he shows everything outwardly and shows you that he loves you, but you have to make the first move. He is never going to kiss or touch Mira until she does something. So that leads us to the last part. I know. It's freaking awkward. A lot of people felt very uncomfortable, and they were like, did Mira just take advantage of him? And we will get to that. That's Actually, that's a whole other video that we should talk about. I feel like this is more of like a podcasty format, but we'll talk about that in another video. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Yes and no is the answer. Spear is not a child, but he was burnt all the way up, and it's kind of messed up because like now you're choosing to give him this when he's dying and in pain, but the reasoning for Mira doing it is what's crucial. In that separate video, I'm also going to explain how that last part was even possible in the realms of like a cartoon where hellish creatures come out from the depths of hell. Anyway, continuing on, I do think that this fight was very anticlimactic, as people are putting it. Fang is on fire and Spear is just anguished, and the only thing he's thinking about is getting that thing away from Fang. And he probably thinks Fang is dead because this thing is a hellish creature, it blows fire, and as far as he knows, anything that's on fire dies. He's seeing that happen to the Dreadnoughtus, the sauropod that was from the Plague of Madness. He's seen it happen to that thing, so he knows that that thing got engulfed in flames. He knows how fire works, so Fang is engulfed in flames, so she now might be dead too, like that thing was. So he loses his mind, and this whole fight scene right here, I mean, yeah, life happens, I guess. In reality, this would be one of those situations where you're like, ooh, point, restart your game. Like, you know, I just feel like, I don't know. This needed to have been 3 episodes, like I said. And he wanted the closure. He couldn't, the fight alone with this thing should have been in a situation like Spear gets killed. Fang might have gotten killed. One of the babies gets killed. And because they are so angry, Mira gets hurt. And because they're so angry and Spear recognizes that this thing is the slaver guy, Fang and Spear are brought down into hell. And one last time, they have to work together to fight their way and battle their way out of hell alongside each other. Now, as a writer myself, I like to add some very interesting situations to the characters, but this is what I would have done over time. Spear and them would have gone down there. He would have seen, you know, all the stuff that the slavers did to her family, and or just what would happen with the baby killing one of the babies, one of the babies that they have. So now there's one baby left. Mira is badly hurt. Maybe she loses an arm, and Spear thinks that she's dead, and the demon Vidar guy is like, all right, you did it. You kill Spear and you kill Fang. So I'm gonna grab you back to hell. I'm gonna grab you back and take you back down into the depths because you exacted your vengeance. But Spear is also brought down into hell. The fact that he still has clothes is freaking amazing. But yeah, this thing is brought back down into the hell. Spear is brought back down to hell. And the thing is, like, the demon god that they saw sitting on the throne, it presents the Viking guy to Spear, just like it did to the Viking. In that case, the demon is like, hey, if you want to get revenge, there's the Viking guy. And then something along the lines of Spear and Fang become imbued with some kind of, you know, strength, and they find the Viking guy down into the hellish depths. When they chase him down there, and then they corner him. And for many, what would have been maybe years, I guess, I don't know, while they're down there in seemingly eternity, or outside of time and whatnot, they start torturing the hell out of this Viking over and over again. They hunt him down and rip him to pieces. So this Viking guy got his revenge and killed Spear and Fang, but now they're down in hell, constantly torturing him and fighting him until he is deathly afraid of them, and that is his hell, being haunted by them for all eternity. But then let's say you still need a threat up there, right? The ending would be like, you know, they claw their way out of hell, you know, one last time, like as a result, you know, that's as a result of him earning his way or earning his vengeance or whatnot, the demon rewards him. Because Spear did a lot of good too, but he did a lot of bad by giving him this power to, you know, torture this guy over and over again. He's like, okay, now you need to be tortured too. But Spear wants to fight for, you know, go to Mira and, you know, love her and tell her how he feels, or maybe not, but just make sure she's okay. He realizes that Mira's still alive, and Spear would have been fine with Mira still being alive. But here's the thing. You provide a god thing like that, and Spear wants to get out. He wants to get out because he wants to be able to protect Mira from any other things that are going to happen, and Fang wants to get out back to her babies. So after a while, Fang is like, no, I'm missing my babies. I want my babies. And Spear's like, you know what? For Fang, we will fight our way out of here. So he asked the god, can, you know, we want to leave? And the god's like, no. So now the whole other episodes or next season or whatever is Spear and Fang preparing to fight the actual demon god. This demon god still is down here. He rules over all of this. And Spear is like, we want to leave. And he's like, no. So then they have to fight this thing. And that whole episode is them going through the rungs of hell, trying to survive and dealing with all that. Maybe even having this thing mess with their heads and thinking that they're free. And you find all these other demonic things that Fang and Spear have to fight. And then they realize, I really want to live. Fang, of course, Spear was doing it for her so she could get back to her child and protect them, or protect him, or whatever. Spear wants to get back to Mira because he realizes Mira's still alive and she needs him. She's mortally injured. She lost a foot, lost a hand, whatever. And he only thought he got imbued with that ability to exact vengeance in hell because of what the Viking guy did to Mira. But now he's like, no, you're going to keep us away from my family. Look, I've already lost my family. Nothing is keeping us away. We deserve happiness. And it's all about Spear and Fang fighting through hell, fighting this demon thing to get out of hell. And they defeat the thing and they're like, yes, I can get out now. I can get out. And they're like, yes, the door is open. And the thing is dead, and Fang and Spear have done it. Here's the twist. The demon thing is not actually dead. You can't kill it. It gets back up, and Spear and Fang are so disheartened, and they're like, oh my god, what are we're just gonna keep fighting it over and over again. So they do. They fight it over and over again. It keeps getting up. They fight it over and over again until the demon thing says something to them and stops them, and makes a deal with them. We don't know what he says, but it's implied that they've won. For now, he will allow them to return to the surface in their form to protect whomever and live out their life. Spear goes back to the surface. Fang goes back to the surface. Spear and Mira end up together. And they actually grow up. Like, he has children with her. And he watches them grow up. And some of the adventures for that next season would have been him having a little bit of that power in him to be able to fight off certain things that would harm their family. Maybe part of the catch is the demon sending things above there to be like, all right, you want to go and live up there and be with your family? All right, I'm going to give you something to do, though. I'm going to send some of my things up there, too. You think you're smart? You beat me? Of course I'll let you go back up to the surface and enjoy your family. But I'm gonna send shit after them every waking moment. The demon is fair, and Spear, just like the Viking guy, does have some of that power. Maybe it ties back in with the black goo, we don't know. And as Spear's watching his daughter and his son grow, Fang realizes, that after they almost lose their child by one of these things, they realize, us being here, we can protect them. We were given some of the power to protect them, but we have to use the power. But as long as we're here, these things are going to keep coming after our family. Now that we know for certain they're safe, they're old enough, he rides on Fang, he loves Mira, Mira's hugging him, he says, I'm going to be back, and he loves her and kisses her, looks longingly into her eyes. Fang nuzzles her son or whoever is remaining, maybe her daughter. Fang and Spear walk away to an area, and they summon the demon, and Mira watches in horror. She falls because she just felt something was wrong. She goes after them, like the daughter and Mira probably go after Spear, or maybe just the daughter and the lone dinosaur, freaking Land Before Time, the lone baby T-Rex that's left over. Maybe another thing they can put into the writing is that something almost like hurt his daughter, like really got to her, and that's when he was like, yeah, I don't want to risk this anymore. And the daughter follows him, unbeknownst to him, riding her dinosaur, the redhead dinosaur, and she sees her dad on the cliff, and this fiery pit is opening up, and he's riding Fang, and he's petting Fang. Then he gets off, and she's like, Daddy, what are you doing? No! And she runs towards him, because she's been having these dreams, because the funny thing is, some of the power that's inside of Spear when he was brought back got translated over to the little girl. But we don't really fully know that. All we know is that she's having, like, premonitions of her losing her dad, and Spear trying to tell her everything's okay, but now she just has the sixth sense, and she follows her father and sees him in a distance waiting at this fiery pit, and this demon hand is coming out. Its palm is open, and it's being polite, and it wants them to step in. The promise is that all those creatures that were hurting them will not hurt them any longer. The demon's palm's open. All these horrible shadow creatures that were hunting Spear's family and Mira's family, they start going into the pit, but Spear and Fang have to go with him. His palm remains open. The daughter rides on her dinosaur. She gets off and she's like, no, no, Daddy, no. She starts attacking the hand, you know, and it swats at her, and Spear's freaking out like, no, no. Maybe her name is Dagger. That's the name everyone's giving to her. And she's just like, no, Daddy, I don't want you to go. She knows exactly what's gonna happen. And Spear, he just doesn't want anything to happen to his daughter. Her dinosaur, which is weird because the dinosaur Fang's daughter has exactly the same weird mutation that she has. Would not have chosen to do that, but whatever. But yeah, the both of them are fighting this thing together, and Spear sees how his daughter in that moment is working seamlessly with her dinosaur to fight off evil. And Spear stops her. After a while, he's like, no, stop. And he lets her know, no, I want to do this. Let me go. The reason you're here is because I made this deal and I love you. And we don't know that, but through his body language and his facial expressions, we can gather that. And she hugs her father, and there's this long goodbye. And Mira, you know, not knowing where her daughter is, she's like, what the hell? You know, maybe their son, maybe they don't have a son. Maybe it's just the daughter. But I would like to think he had a little son as well. Mira comes with a young son, and she realizes what's happening. She sees the pit, she looks at Spear and Fang, and she looks at the look on Spear's face, and she's like breaking down in tears. She runs to him and hugs him one last time, kisses him. The daughter doesn't want to let go, and Mira has to peel her daughter off of Spear, and her daughter's crying and is like, no, no, Daddy, Daddy, no, whatever the language is that she speaks. Maybe she speaks Aramaic or whatever they're speaking. They're just crying. Spear's daughter is, not Spear's daughter, Fang's daughter is also hugging her mom, nuzzling her the way T-Rexes do, and they walk into the pond, and the thing closes it and drags them back down to hell and takes them, because that was the deal of them living for a while to protect their families and to watch their families grow as like an offering or sort of reward for beating the demon. He wanted their souls willingly, and the demon didn't want to keep dying over and over again. That's how badass Fang and Spear are. I feel like that would have been a better ending. For me, personally, that's the way I would have written it over a while, so that we could see Spear actually be happy and grow up, and there would be other issues too, like there has to be some kind of new problem, like those demon things I was describing, those little weird things that go inside animals and when to go stuff and go after their families, and Spear would realize, you know, why are these things attacking us? This is so unnatural for animals to act like this. And then he would realize, the daughter, through talking to the daughter with her dreams, that it's actually the demon thing, you know, this shadowy thing that jumps into them, and it's sending stuff after them in the hopes it will kill his family or do whatever, because demons like to play dirty. But that is what would have been a better ending for me. That's like anime levels of ending. That's the story that I would have written for Spear and his family. He and Fang go in and they go to hell, and then we see this thing where the demon's like, all right, you know, you're my servants now. And maybe they're like, all right, you know, for the sake of my family, we can do this. Maybe later, Spear realizes through talking to someone else down in hell that his family is actually not safe, that the demon didn't make good on his word. And now he's like, okay, now I can't just beat this demon. Now I have to really figure out a way to defeat it and become the ruler of hell or something, because they already jumped the shark with this. It is totally plausible that something like that would have happened. What do you guys think about that ending? Maybe my ending is corny, but I just feel like anything at this point would have been better than the rushed ending that we got. Like, it was still a nice ending, don't get me wrong. I think it was a good ending with closure. It was kind of like Jenny knew his project was ending because of the merger maybe, and he was rushed into it. But people were saying this is something that he does with all his shows. I don't know, but that's an ending I could have been like, all right, you could have even ended it with that. You don't even have to do the full story of Spear taking over. Just Fang and Spear get dragged to hell willingly. They go out like a badass because they're like, you know what? I got to see my family. I'm here because we beat that demon multiple times, and I got to see my family. I got to see my kids grow up. I got the love of my life. They got everything they wanted. Really? And he went willingly back to hell to protect his family. And then you could just keep going from there. Man, this is what I don't like sometimes about awesome shows and these studios and business execs, and they just mess up everything. I don't know if this was totally Gendy's fault this time. I think he intended for the story to continue, or for all you know, maybe he was like, you know what, I want to write some new stories and I just want to end this. But it ended way too quickly. What do you guys think about that ending? Now, for the POV, I have a question. I mean, I still want to do it the way that they said, but I would like to add a little bit more to it. Would you want an alternate ending? Because if you do, that's exactly what my ending would be. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.